Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this month's Tradefox Virtual Networking Conference, Fall Edition 2021. Today's October 13th. My name is Scott Pollan, and I'm here to help our scrappers understand hedging. I work in Chicago, Illinois, with a 40-year family firm servicing bullion dealers and businesses that handle metal resources. The company, Zaner Financial Services, Zaner, has operated in the metals industry for more than a decade. This team specializes in software services and hedging services for industrial handlers of recyclable metals. My educational background focuses on mining geology in the Duluth, Minnesota region, where I studied banded iron formations and platinum, palladium, osmium, iridium, and rhodium volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits. I'm familiar with industrial mines, industrial processing facilities, industrial recycling facilities, and the finance associated with running a metals-oriented business. In this lecture, we're going to explore the regulatory environment that oversees how we conduct hedging, and we're going to look into ways your company can utilize hedging to remain competitive in a high-risk environment and to utilize your capital efficiently in a high-risk, low-margin work environment. I look forward to answering your questions at the end of this lecture, and we'll jump right in. Our first task on this journey is to understand the risks associated with trading futures products and over-the-counter products. Trading futures, over-the-counter, off-exchange retail foreign currency, and options involves substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all people. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your circumstances, knowledge, and financial resources. Opinions are subject to change at any time and are not a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell commodity futures or commodity options. Past performance is not indicative of future results. When utilizing these tools, you must be very careful and work with a dedicated team of service providers. When asking yourself if hedging is a tool your business can utilize to mitigate price risk, one question that might come to mind is who does this kind of business? Well, over-the-counter firms like Zaner Financial Services are designated Independent Introductory Brokers, or IIBs. You may also encounter Guaranteed Introductory Brokers, GIBs, Clearing Futures Commissions Merchants, FCMs, or Non-Clearing Futures Commission Merchants, Non-Clearing FCM. Other firms you may encounter are clearing houses and exchanges. Another question you may ask yourself is who regulates this kind of business? Well, in the United States, the people regulate this industry. We regulate this industry through our votes of senators, House representatives, and the president. The governing bodies that oversee the futures industry is the CFTC, or the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. This also includes the NFA, the National Futures Association, a designated self-regulatory agency that oversees all reporting for hedging brokers. You may also be interested in the laws that affect this industry. The Commodities Exchange Act, the Dodd-Frank Act, and the Patriot Act are all important legislative actions that impact the futures and over-the-counter industry. In my personal and professional journey, I have always been fascinated by pricing. Where does the price of our metal commodities come from? Is it magic? Do our prices come from an open cry format? Is there still free negotiation? When a scrapyard reaches out to a metal consumer and a price is determined, is that an open free format, or is that tied to a benchmark? In the futures trading industry, prices are discovered at the exchange. Examples of an exchange could be the London Metals Exchange, the LME, or the London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA. In the United States, we have the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the CME. In the over-the-counter industry, price is discovered with the market maker. Many market makers are the banks you are familiar with every single day. When thinking about price, we also must be considerate of the spread between the bid and the ask, the spread between the liquidity provider and the market maker, the spread between the market maker and the broker, and the spread between the broker and the customer. We also should think about how is the price generated? The bid-ask price discovery process is that similar to someone buying a home. The bidder, the person raising their hand at the auction, is buying, and their goal is to achieve the sale at the lowest price. The asker, the person selling their home, their goal is to ask for the highest price. When the two meet and an agreement is reached, that is price discovery. In the metals industry, we are considerate of the spot price. For copper in particular, you might be considerate of the LME official close. This fixed price is a common metric for many copper transactions. When trading futures, you must be very considerate of the contract month you are trading. Some contracts in the futures trading industry extend years into the future. You must be very aware of what price you are thinking of and what contract you are trading. While on your journey to picking a suitable hedging broker for your company's needs, you may ask yourself, how is the cost of service calculated? Two commission structures you may be interested in are the round turn commission and the price per unit commission. In a round turn commission structure, you are assessed a fee to initiate the hedge, a fee to close the hedge position, and any other associated fees with the NFA clearinghouse and brokerage firm. In the price per unit commission structure, you may also have fees, and these will all be disclosed in a disclosure document. This standardized form always begins with an initial title page with bold black lettering, followed by a table of contents also in bold black lettering. This standardized form will show you all of the fees and associated commission structures with every single product package you are looking at. An example of a disclosure document can be seen in the Zaner Financial Services application portal. Every client of ours is walked through this disclosure document so they understand the services they are receiving. One thing you may also want to consider is the advantage of a specialized broker. Does your hedging broker know what ICW is? Have they ever handled physical metals? Some of these factors may influence the kind of conversation you have with your hedging broker. Does this broker meet your needs? Is a specialized broker what you are looking for? These are questions you may want to answer on your journey to finding a suitable risk mitigation professional. When you or your company have identified a hedging broker you would like to work with and the account you would like to open, you'll proceed to the Know Your Customer account setup. Per the NFA Suitability Customer Identification Program at every firm, you will be asked to contribute information related to the ownership of the entity that is hedging. All beneficial ownership entities over 25% must include documentation, and every person must be identified. Your hedging broker is also tasked with maintaining current and accurate information regarding the account holder. They may occasionally ask you to update your personal information or account information. Your hedging broker is also responsible for reporting any suspicious or illegal activity on your account. When this happens, or if this happens, you will not be notified by your hedging broker. Only authorities of action is going to be taken. Per the Patriot Act, strict anti-money laundering codes are enforced at every hedging brokerage firm. This includes asking customers to submit pertinent information regarding the entity that is hedging. You will need to submit your articles of incorporation and operating agreement or bylaws, a certificate of good standing from your Secretary of State, a certificate of the registered officers, and any accompanying proof of address and valid state-issued identification for those individuals. You will need to submit a list of company directors if applicable. You will also need to submit a share registry if applicable. Your hedging broker will ask for a balance sheet that is current within the last 90 days and verification of the identity of the participant that is hedging. This verification includes a driver's license or passport and will also include a utility bill for that individual, such as a gas, electricity, or internet bill. These forms are required per the Patriot Act and Anti-Money Laundering Code. Because we are seasoned industry professionals, we know that trading metals involves the substantial risk of financial loss. This is the same for the futures trading industry and the over-the-counter trading industry. When trading futures products and over-the-counter products, we utilize a tool known as margin, which I will define in the following slides. You also must be aware of the fact that when you open a position in the futures trading industry and over-the-counter industry, that position must be closed, and you will be held accountable for closing that position. When trading metals, you have physical inventory on hand. When trading futures, you do not necessarily need to have physical inventory on hand. When hedging your metals, the risk of the price of your metals is protected by your position in the futures industry or the over-the-counter industry. As part of your application, you may be determined a qualified eligible participant. This is how the industry determines if you or your entity are appropriate for participating in the futures trading industry or the over-the-counter industry. The over-the-counter industry has different qualifications than the futures trading industry. Clearinghouses and exchanges are protected as designated systematically important financial market utilities. The government of the United States, via the Dodd-Frank Act, has chartered these entities to have safeguards protecting every customer and their position at each institution. This is something that creates confidence in the industry and allows everyone to operate knowing that they are protected from a potential cascading default. When trading in the futures industry and over-the-counter industry, you are utilizing margin. What is margin? Well, as per the NFA, margin is a good faith deposit towards the full value of a futures contract. In other words, margin is collateral to hold your position. There are two kinds of margin: initial margin, which establishes your position, and maintenance margin, which holds your position if the market fluctuates outside of a range relative to your position. How is margin calculated? Margin is calculated as a percentage of the full notional value of your position. This is relative to the market volatility. High risk environments may have higher margin requirements. How is margin used? Margin is used to backstop the customer's account and to hold the position. Margin solidifies your continued participation in the market. Where does margin sit? Margin is held in a sacrosanct customer account. It is never commingled with company funds. In the over-the-counter market, margin is held in an omnibus account. Margin is different than cash on account. Cash on account is cash. Margin is money held towards your futures or over-the-counter position. You also need to consider how money is transferred in and out of your trading account. Hedging brokers are not banks. When you transfer money to or from your hedging broker, they will take extra steps to ensure that money is moving where it should go and from the correct origin. Some accounts have a higher margin percentage than others. Futures trading accounts may have margin requirements as high as 6%, and that depends on the contract and the risk tolerance of the exchange on that day. Lower percentage margin accounts, such as over-the-counter trading margin accounts, may have lower margin percentages. This can change in higher risk environments, and your broker will advise how to effectively manage your margin account relative to your position. The old saying goes, it takes money to make money. And in the futures trading industry, or in the over-the-counter trading industry, how much money should you have on the table? When utilizing futures contracts, you may have as much as 6% of the notional value of your position as margin, or more, depending on the risk tolerance of the exchange. In the over-the-counter trading environment, you may have between 1 and 4% of the notional value of your contract position held as margin, or more, if the risk environment requires so. Does your broker offer a combination of futures contracts and over-the-counter contracts? Is this a way that you can more efficiently mitigate your price risk? Something we like to talk about here at Zaner Financial Services is capital efficiency and the benefits of a lower margin account. Has your CFO looked into capital utilization related to your futures trading? If money is tied up in a margin account for futures contracts, could you be using that money somewhere else more effectively? How much money for your entity is tied up in the system? And can the system change to better serve your needs? Those are the questions we ask ourselves at Zaner. As you familiarize yourself with more disclosure documents at various hedging brokerage firms, you'll be delighted to learn that Zaner Financial Services is a pioneer in the self-directed spot metals market. A self-directed hedging account is self-explanatory. You make the trades and direct the account. We watch your transactions and make sure everything is running smoothly. Another type of brokerage account is a broker-assisted account. In this account, a broker helps you make trades and they initiate every transaction on your behalf. You and the broker talk and then decide what to do together. In a managed account, your funds are segregated, hosted on a platform. They are owned and controlled by you, the investor, though decision-making is appointed to a sub-advisor via a power of attorney document. Another kind of managed account is a discretionary account. In a discretionary account, all trades are made without the account owner's approval, but with specifically designated trading instructions. This is established with a power of attorney document, and you will likely have a very close relationship with the broker managing this discretionary account. You have also heard of speculative hedging accounts. Speculative accounts typically have higher margin requirements than a hedging account. This is because the risk profile of a speculator is significantly higher than that of a hedger who has physical inventory. Zaner Financial Services is also a pioneer of the automatic hedge linked through API, the Application Programming Interface. Your inventory management software or your point of sale software talks with the Tornado Bullion software system, and trades are instantaneously executed in the over-the-counter marketplace. You can pre-program spreads and the markup on your sale, and you can easily adjust any pricing formulas. This can include a currency conversion feature if you operate between, say, the United States and Canada. You may also utilize a recovery percent formula, so your hedge accurately reflects the metal you have in inventory by recovery percentage. This system is an innovation that helps recycling companies reorganize their internal operation so that risk mitigation is something that can be handled either automatically or in a self-directed setting by an executive manager. The futures trading industry and the over-the-counter trading industry can be confusing at times, and Analogies are a useful tool for bringing this technology into the real world. When the risk transfers to you, put the hedge on. An example would be when you buy scrap copper, off-put that price risk into the market. You can do so by utilizing the Tornado Bullion trading application, where you have 24/7 access to the markets. When the risk transfers to your customer, take your hedge off. This is done the same way by utilizing the Tornado Bullion trading application, where you have 24/7 access to the markets. In the futures trading industry and the over-the-counter trading industry, an important concept that is useful for recyclers is that of beta neutral. What is beta? Beta is a mathematical expression of risk. This helps determine how risky your portfolio is relative to the rest of the market. Hedgers, specifically recycling hedgers, have an opportunity to remain beta neutral, meaning their futures or over-the-counter position is equally offset by that of physical inventory. Please explore the mathematical example below that illustrates how a transaction can occur through time and margin can be protected from changes in the price of the underlying commodity. As we approach the conclusion of this hedging lecture, there are some important takeaways that every recycler should bring home. The first being that hedging is not trading. Your goal is not to maximize profit off of the inventory you have on hand. Your goal, while hedging, is to mitigate the risk of price changes for physical commodities. This allows your managers to focus on material handling and optimizing your facility functions. Where can your managers reduce fixed costs? Another important question you might take into consideration is, how can I repurpose a fixed cost risk manager position to a sales position that generates income for the company? It's never our goal to eliminate a person. Maybe we can utilize a technology to repurpose that person to an income generating role. A final question I want you to think about is, how can you simplify the task of risk management at your company? Can a self-directed account help you mitigate the risks associated with commodity price changes? Can an automated system free up headspace so you can focus on new endeavors? These are some questions you must ask yourself to bring your company into the 21st century. Now that we have had an opportunity to explore the fundamentals of futures trading and over-the-counter trading for recyclers, I would like to ask any and all participants to think of a strong question that they would like to ask to the group. You may also ask any questions to me at any time privately at our firm in Chicago, Illinois. We can be reached at 312-277-0115 or by email at spollan@zaner.com. I will now wait for any questions to come through the chat, and we can take them one by one. Thank you for participating in this lecture related to hedging for recyclers. There's a lot to learn, and I have time to help teach. So thank you for attending.
Awesome, Scott. Thank you very much. Apologize for the technical problems.
Hey, that's okay. I think we've all gotten used to some technical problems here.
Thanks. All right, we've got about 15 minutes. Actually, normally the session's in about 15 till, but we have a little buffer here. So please, everyone, jump in with any questions for Scott. You can also raise your hand, and we can you can unmute yourselves actually and ask verbally, or drop it in the chat.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't feel comfortable asking your question in this public setting, we do take a lot of questions over the phone. Sometimes when you're asking questions about the money related to your business,
Yep.
those are best had in a one-on-one setting. But I will say we take the management of our customers' money very seriously, and that is how a family business runs. And the president of the company, Matthew Zaner, he brings a wealth of education into this company, and his current project is Zaner Digital, where he's working on Ethereum-based digital asset management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's not really metals hedging like what this lecture is, but we are expanding into new ventures because these assets exist, and some of our scrap metal customers have questions about their digital assets. Some even own these assets, and how do you manage next of kin, if related to these, right? So when you work with a licensed firm, we have protocols, and we're audited regularly. So
yeah, I think that that hedging is something that I really appreciate you giving this talk today, because I feel like everybody really needs to understand how to do this, because there's a bit of knowledge here, but it's really important, I think, to get rid of your trading risk in our business. In fact, from our side of things, we're trying to basically create a safer marketplace for trading, and I think one of the problems that leads to issues with unfair trading practices, honestly, I feel like the biggest cause is people getting on the wrong side of a trade or ending up on the wrong side of a trade that are unhedged, honestly. So,
oh, and I hate losing money.
I know,
Oh
right?
gosh, I will. Making money is nice, but I hate losing money. It makes me feel just terrible.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
Okay, so here we go. We've got a question coming in here.
All right.
What is the best strategy to mitigate risk? A, when you buy basis COMEX and sell basis LME, looking for arbitrage between the two, or when the same item is not perfect hedge due to nature of commodity. Okay, well, so question A that's an actual trade question. So I don't think I can answer that in a public setting. The question B, though, when something is not perfectly hedged, so you say this came up at the ISRI conference a couple of weeks ago. Say you are managing stainless steel in your product stream, and you know that the components of stainless steel primarily are nickel and chromium. You can take proxy positions in those metals as a way of providing a mathematical financial buffer. You can do this based on by weight percentage of metal content, or depending on how you sell your metal, if you are selling, for example, stainless steel to someone, and they're paying you based off of the content of that metal by its elemental composition, you can use that information to back the amount of metal out. So, copper, for example, if you are buying 1,000 pounds of ICW and your recovery content is 20%, you're hedging 200 pounds, not 1,000 pounds of raw material. And that is something I'm working on right now, is we're building calculators so that if you have copper of a certain content, that can be built into your hedge. So there can be a tab, ICW 20%, ICW 16%. Well, how much of 3,840 pounds of ICW, how much of that is actually copper, and how much should I really be hedging? So those are things that and I tried to touch on this with a specialized broker. Most other brokers aren't asking these questions or thinking about developing these technologies. And that's the beauty of over-the-counter transactions, is we can make custom product suites for an industry sector.
Awesome.